All right, May 13th workout breakdown. It is a back day. We are still in Enduro month. Again, hopefully you guys have gotten a little clarity on what the Enduro month really stands for, how we're kind of tilting both directions, whether it's with exercises or on the aerobic side. It's also the fourth workout of the 8 of the mini cycle, which is what I wanted to talk about very briefly. Again, just to give more clarity on kind of what I'm trying to achieve here with the mini cycle. And again, hopefully people are following along. When we do have these cycles, I know the big cycles, the 12-week cycles, the Urban Legend training, these are things that people seem to be very on top of. Like, we understand at this point as a membership base and from a training perspective that we need to not miss those. The mini cycles are very similar to that. And I know they don't offer the immediate return that these big cycles do, but just volume and repetition alone, getting your body more aware and a better understanding of the line of motion and just the path of motion, the muscles that fire, are hugely valuable at building a foundation. So I want people to not necessarily take mini cycles as serious as the big cycles. I don't expect that, but to at least keep them on the back burner and just know that they're there when they are relevant, which there is one now. So, of course, it's pull-ups. We're starting with the single arm low row. I did this obviously on purpose, but once we do the volume that I'm asking you guys to do today on the 13th of the pull-ups, the single arm low row has kind of become irrelevant. So I think there's far more value in doing the single arm low row first. You're super fresh. You don't often get to do these super fresh. You can move as much load as you're physically capable of doing with no added fatigue or pre-exhaustion ahead of it, and obviously with good form, of course, and get a real raw idea of where you stand on this. So I think leading with it is really good. And then again, it won't overly affect your pull-ups. Obviously, it's going to play a little bit of a role, but based off what I'm trying to do with the pull-ups today, I think leading with this is completely fine. And for the most part, pretty irrelevant. You'll then have a transition. We'll go into these 10 rounds. Keep in mind, it is Enduro month, so I'm trying to find the happy medium here of the aerobic side and the volume of the exercises, and the fact that this is a mini cycle. I've been leaning a lot more towards the volume in the mini cycle than I have been the raw strength for mini cycles. And again, I think, like I kind of just already, hit on, is, in the mini cycle with just 8 workouts, it's not realistically enough time for you to get significantly stronger in a particular movement. It's far more valuable with the mindset of, I'm just going to do this as much as physically possible in these 8 workouts and kind of lay the groundwork of the frame for when we do eventually have a cycle, or when I get out of the eight mini cycle weeks or workouts, I can really focus on what I've learned about myself for that particular movement, which again, is of course pull-ups. So I'm really excited about this 10 rounds. I think it's fantastic. I always have to weigh a big part of programming, especially for a gym and for group fitness, is I gotta weigh constantly, like, what are people going to enjoy, and then what I know works best. And it's harder than it sounds. Like there's a lot of things that, like, if I work out on my own, I typically almost just always do what I know works best. It's the most efficient. I know it's going to give me the best results. But a lot of times it's very redundant, very boring, very bland. It's very black and white. And I understand that in group fitness, people don't want to do that. So I'm constantly, torn on, all right, I need to do something that people are obviously going to enjoy. But at the same time, for my own sake and my sanity, I need to know that it's going to work. So we're always kind of stuck in the middle of the tug and pull. So just know that I'm constantly, battling that fight when I'm writing these workouts. Of course, I put a lot of time into them. I do my best to kind of level those both out at all times with all workouts. So those 10 rounds, I really wanted some volume on the rower. I've kind of been hitting on that a little bit if you've been paying attention. And I wanted volume in the pull-ups as we work our way to the deeper end of the mini cycle. And this seemed like a great way to get both of them. So there's a lot of ways to approach this. I kept the row at max. 10 minutes of rowing at max is obviously pretty insane. So it kind of just relative to who you are. And I talked a lot about this, the week prior to this video about, you guys always have autonomy. I think it's insanely valuable for you guys to have the ball in your court and the ability to make decisions on an individual level based off of your capabilities. And I lean into that a lot. So if you guys are watching this video ahead of time, you can kind of think about how you want to approach this row based off what you know about yourself. Ultimately, I do think your best course of action is just getting as far as you can each minute relative to what, you don't want to burn out, right? So depending on how well you know yourself, you can kind of play with your aggression levels and your thresholds, but kind of treating each 1 minute row as an AMRAP row and making that transition into the pull-ups quite challenging, right? 30 seconds is not a lot of time if you're rowing at an 80% clip, right? And that's on purpose. So keep that in mind. That being said, you also don't have to do that. That's the point of the autonomy. You guys could row at 60% and really, really focus on just getting as many full AMRAP pull-ups all 10 rounds. I'm fine with that, but you can also break it up. You could do one row at an 80% clip, transition to the pull-ups. The next round, you're rowing at 60%, focusing on the pull-ups, and then you can kind of flip-flop them back and forth. And I was trying to get that point across in class last week. And I just want you guys to, I'm going to keep reminding you of that because I think it's incredibly important that you guys know that there's a lot of flexibility and manipulation that can be done to these workouts relative to yourself and what you're trying to achieve. So just wanted to make sure I went over that again. And then this falls right into it. Like, I absolutely love these, like farmer step-ups, farmer's carries, anything that has to do with some type of carrying or grip strength are just incredible for you guys. There's such a long list of positives that are involved with these. So I gave you just 8 minutes here. Obviously, this takes up a ridiculous amount of time. An 80 rep cap. So I think, I've heard a lot of our trainers go over this as well, and I think I've said this in a few videos. I think a lot of people get very fixated on the rep count or rounds or whatever it is and thinking like, the end all be all is to hit that number. Like that's not the case. I would much rather more people lean into, I'm going to aim for 80, but I'm not going to cut my weight short. I'm going to get far more out of doing 60 or 55 of these with a weight of aggression higher than I planned on it and not worry about finishing. So think about that. We've done these enough for the last 90 days. I think most of you probably have an idea of like kind of where you stand here, and know that you pretty much have nothing to lose if you grab a weight class or two higher, as long as you're conscious and aware of your body position and the integrity of the movement. And we can go over all that in class, but you know what I'm saying. Like, go up in weight, obviously prioritize going up in weight, but not at the integrity of the movement. Anyways, pretty black and white workout on paper. I don't think it's going to feel that way at all, especially if you kind of follow what we just talked about leading into this last block with the farmer step-ups.